So this comes from Cheryl. I'm an INFJ Enneagram type 2, which is probably another thing that clusters often. Would you agree with that as far as your determination?
INFJ 2, I see actually more INFJ 1s and 4s, but I think 2 is definitely one that people who use extroverted feeling it's not uncommon for them to be 2.
So I'm an INFJ Enneagram type 2 in a relationship with an INTP male. I feel I have to take initiative connecting with him all the time, and I start to feel exhausted and hurt and doubt if he actually loves me. When he goes into solitude, I don't know if I should be pushing him or if I should wait for him to come out. Any advice? Thanks.
Well, you didn't say what his Enneagram type is.
Yeah, Cheryl, if you want to add in his Enneagram type, we can probably answer for your sake, like as far as INFJ 2, we can speak to you directly, and him as an INTP. But if you think you know his Enneagram type, that might be really helpful for us.
Although she did mention she's an Enneagram 2, she didn't mention her subtype. So is there any advice for 2s maybe being a little emotionally pushy?
Yeah, so it's interesting because my teaching partner is a INTP. He's a 5. We don't know that this person's boyfriend is a 5. But I do think that now, how would you answer this? Maybe it'd be good for you to go first.
Sure. So, I'll go based on I'll go based on the person being pushed, and you can go based on the person pushing. All right. So, INTPs have extroverted feeling, or what we call harmony, as their 3-year-old or inferior function. Mm-hmm. Any type that leads with thinking is going to feel like that they're always out of their sandbox when it comes to their feeling aspect. It's going to feel like the most vulnerable part of who they are. And just like all of us, we don't want to expose the most vulnerable piece of who we are. And we're going to protect it. And we're going to have built all these protections against people getting to it until we get very assured that that person is not going to hurt that part of who we are. Mm-hmm. Now, an INTP is going to go to extroverted feeling. And extroverted feeling is connected feeling. It's not just going inside and introspecting and figuring out what their emotional state is. Mm-hmm. It's actually sharing an emotional experience with another person. Mm-hmm. It's extroverted feeling. So it's connecting with another person and sharing your emotions with them and having them share their emotions with you. And so it's also very associated with things like, how are you responding to me emotionally? Are you approving of me or disapproving of me? And most of the time when an INTP is dealing with a lot of emotions, one of the reasons why they hide is because they also don't necessarily want to blow up in front of you. Because INTPs almost always have a trigger point where their extroverted feeling explodes when they can't harbor or hold their emotions anymore. And so instead of being in moments where they embarrass themselves by exposing themselves to all these emotions that maybe they don't understand, and they have no understanding or awareness or capacity to process necessarily on their own, sometimes they'll go into hiding so that they don't push that emotional experience onto you. Now, I don't know this person. I don't know what his past is. I don't know what he's dealing with. I don't know your guys' level of vulnerability with each other. I don't know how safe he feels with you, or if this is a new or an old relationship. And I don't know if he's harboring a time period of extreme emotion or if he's got a lot of grief in the past. All of these are modifiers in your relationship. I just know his 4 letters, and so I'm talking about those 4 letters. So apply those 4 letters to your context because you're going to know a ton more than I do. I just know that INTPs have a tendency to separate themselves from people that when they're feeling emotional, because they don't want to expose the most vulnerable part of who they are. They don't want to explode on loved ones if they feel like they're being emotionally overwhelmed, and they don't want to be they don't want to be out of control. They don't want to be out of their sandbox. They don't want to be in a space where they may do or say something that doesn't make any sense to them, and later on they regret it. So, as a fellow NTP, I'm a little bit more in touch with my emotional experience, but I know that blow up thing because I do that blow up thing, right? I'm just a little bit less self-conscious about it than an INTP would be. And I think for me, when I'm feeling overly emotional and I feel like Joel's picking, right? Like he's trying to get in there and I don't feel like I'm ready for him to get in there, I also do a separation from him. And it's because I don't understand them yet. So if you come ask me what my emotional experience is and I don't understand it, then I'm not going to be very helpful. Like if you're like, how are you feeling? I literally don't know. No, tell me what's going on for you. I literally don't know. No, seriously, you can open up to me. Yes, I understand I can open up to you. I literally do not know. I have not figured them out. So what Joel does for me, which is very kind, is he actually helps me navigate my emotions with me. He's been a great spelunker, helping me spelunk inside of my emotional experience. But the context has to be very conducive. I have to feel super safe. I have to feel ready. I have to feel like he's not going to exploit anything I tell him or he tells me. Like there will be no weaponization of it at all. And if I feel like there will be any weaponizing of what we do, I won't talk, right? Like I have to feel super safe in this and that it's not going to be used against me later. And I also have to I have to feel free to share without being pushed to share. So it's more of an offering than it is a request. Does that make sense? It's like, I'm here for you if you need to talk this through. Like I'm totally available. And if you don't want to process this with me, I totally understand. I'm not going to hold it against you, but I am available to you. And if you're an INFJ, like you're not just available, you're available for some serious processing. You can be a conduit for his emotional experience, not just understanding. Like you can actually help him, like a dialysis machine, actually process through and actually get through, release some of these emotions, which is really great. So I don't know if you guys have ever experienced that before. If you have had that moment, you can call back to it and you can go, hey, remember that one time when we blah, 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 blah. I'd like to be available to you to do that again. And if he's just super, super, super self-protective, then you've got to figure out, like, if you literally will never share an emotion with you, you've got to figure out whether or not you're okay with being in that kind of relationship. But if it's just a matter of like him not wanting to go to a place that is a dark place for him, that he doesn't have, like his introverted thinking has not sussed it out. One good thing to remind him is that all of us that use extroverted feeling, we must process our emotions out loud. Like that's how we process them. We process them through communication. They're not introverted feeling, it's extroverted feeling. We understand ourselves, we understand our emotions by putting them out in the world and hearing ourselves say them, hearing another person reflect it back to us. That's how we process. So reminding him that he uses that processing, like that's how he processes, that you're available to him, make it an offering, make sure that you validate and verify that you would never weaponize it against him. And then, hopefully that would be something that would help open him up. So what would you say is the INFJ or the two trying to get those emotions?
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say I'll add one short thing. And that is based on what my business partner, who's also very, very close friend, says to me about being an INTP and also a 5. This person may not be a 5, but he says, if you have something important to tell me that you want me to respond to, especially if it's emotional, like tell me and then go away.
Yeah.
Because he needs time to be by himself to process his emotions. And if I'm just sitting there looking at him like, okay, when are you going to tell me how you're feeling? It just doesn't work. And, express yourself, say how you're feeling, say what you might need from him or what you like to hear from him, and then go away. And try not to be attached to him being a certain way or being like you, but just be open to what his experience is and give him space. And I think might be a good policy.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say one thing that I have noticed about myself. I don't know if all people who use extroverted feeling feel this way. But I will anchor an emotion to a physical location. So if I'm feeling overwhelmed and a person is pushing to try to get me to communicate, just being in that physical location will actually overwhelm me to a place where I can't talk. So one of the best ways to get me talking is actually to go on a walk with me. So that I can't anchor my emotion to the physical location. I can't get stuck in the emotion, if that makes sense. This is probably very weird and woo-woo to everybody. Those of you who use extroverted feeling, let me know if this works for you too. But if somebody wants me to talk about my emotions, if they take me for a walk and just kind of like, offer, oftentimes I find myself just sort of in the zone of talking about it. So, but if I feel like I have to sit down and talk about an emotion, I'll get completely overwhelmed by it. But it's almost like every step is me shaking the emotion off. It's like a really weird phenomenon. So take him for a walk and see what happens.
So the other thing for you as an INFJ, and this is as a feeler myself, when you're in a relationship with a thinker person, be ready for the things that they share with you to be somewhat harsh, because they don't, like, if they're going to go into a vulnerable space and he's going to share his truth with you and you provide him that space, the things he says might trigger you. Let me just put it that way. Because it always says, like, wow, I can't believe you just said that to me. Like, that was very true, but my goodness, that really hit to the core. So as a feeler, I think that's one of the things we have to work on, is being able to go, that was love for her to say that to me, that truth, that it's seemingly harsh thing. Actually giving a gift, just bearing the soul, sharing exactly what was going on. So that's just something to be thinking in mind as a feeler, as us feelers move through the world with relationships with thinkers.
Can I say a little bit of something about Enneagram Roadmap and how I think
please.
it's the perfect accompaniment to what I spend a lot of my time doing live. My business partner and I offer live inner work retreats. You know, we offer them mostly in San Francisco, London, Cairo in Egypt, Sao Paulo, Brazil, and coming soon, China. And in those inner work retreats, we do deep work with the Enneagram. But we don't really teach the basics. We kind of get right into the deeper work. So Enneagram Roadmap is like the perfect thing to do if you're wanting to do some deep work as a prelude to kind of doing one of our inner work retreats, or even doing one of our professional workshops where we help practitioners learn to use the Enneagram in a deep and accurate way. So we'd love to see you at one of our 5-day programs, but Enneagram Roadmap is really a good thing to do first, to kind of, first of all, just, you know, enter into the Enneagram, I think, in a deep way, and how it can be used as a growth tool and what the system is all about. But also as an introductory workshop you can do in the comfort of your own home before you come and do something deeper with us, which we'd love to have you do.
Well, and to piggyback on that, Joel was mentioning when we flew Beatrice out again, when we were in Florida to record more content. As you mentioned, we've been listening to that all day long because we've been doing some editing on it. And I had forgotten how good those conversations were, because we were talking about things that, we were talking about instinctual stacks. So, you know, people have been talking, you know, I'm a self-pres sexual, or I'm a social, you know, sexual, or whatever, self-pres. And then you just kind of hinted. And then we have the ones that's repressed, right? And in the Enneagram Roadmap, the content that we were creating, you mentioned how it was like a beach ball underneath water, that we do an elaborate balancing act to try to repress it and push it down so we don't have to see it. And so we talked about those things about stacks and what it looks like to have each of those instincts, what it looks like when one of those is your repressed beach ball underneath the water, and what it means to have one that's dominant. And it was
when it explodes.
When it explodes, yeah, because that beach ball will come up sometimes and surface, and what it looks like when your repressed instinct explodes. I mean, it's such good stuff. So that's now in the Enneagram Roadmap, or those are being uploaded right now, and they're it's just really amazing content. So I also would like to put my hat in the ring of recommending that right now, because we're releasing Enneagram Roadmap right now. It's a really good time to go check out that program. So